Hey y'all, and welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about one way of estimating when we add and subtract with fractions. This way of estimating is called using benchmarks. And basically the way it works is we say, instead of worrying about rounding or adding and subtracting the exact right fraction, what we do is we say, let's pick three fractions that are a lot easier to work with. 0, 1/2, and 1/2. These are my favorite benchmarks. You can have different ones, but these I think are the easiest because 0 is the same thing as if I were to say I've got 0 parts out of however much my fraction is. Let's use 1/2 as an example. 0 parts out of 2. The 1/2 is like 1 part out of 2, and the 2/2 is the same thing as 1/2. So that's like 2 parts out of 2. So all we're doing is we're saying, is it closer to 0, to 1/2, or to 1/2? The reason why we would do that is because if we can change them into 0, 1/2, and 1/2, those are all really easy numbers for us to add together. Let's look at an example. So the first thing that I would do, if I have a fraction like 6/10, and I wanted to know, is this closer to 0, to 1/2, or to 1/2, is I would say, all right, I know 0 is like 0/10. 1/2 is like 10/10. Then the only thing I have to do to figure out if its half number is to figure out what half of 10 is. Half of 10 is 5. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put 5/10. Which one is 6/10 closer to? Is it closer to 0/10, to 5/10, or to 10/10? What do you think? I think it's closest to 5/10. So if I were to look at 6/10, I would say that is about, and I use what looks like a melted equal to sign, it's about 1/2. And that helps it to be really easy for us to add together because it's very easy for us to add halves together. Instead of using the actual number, sometimes we can estimate and use 0s, 1/2s, and 1/2s. Let's see another example. So this time, let's do another 10 example, another one with the denominator of 10. So I've got the number 2/10. And I'd like to know, is that about 0? Is it about 1/2? Or is it about 1? The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to say, how many tenths would be about 0? Well, 0/10 would be about 0. How many tenths would be about 1/2? Well, that would be 10/10. Then I need to figure out what half of my denominator is. Half of 10 is 5. So I would have 5/10. What we're doing here is we're saying 0/10 is the same thing as 0. 10/10 is the same thing as 1/2. And 5/10 is the same thing as 1/2. So if I can figure out which one 2/10 is closest to, I can figure out which one I should benchmark, which one I should use as my benchmark. 2/10. If I look over here, that doesn't look like 10/10, so I'm not going to say this is about 1. It doesn't look like 5/10. In fact, it looks much closer to 0/10. It's somewhere between 0/10 and 5/10, which means that the real number is somewhere between 0 and 1/2. Because I'm just worried about benchmarking and not getting the exact right answer, I can say 2/10 is closer to 0/10 than it is to 5/10, which means I'm going to estimate this is about, and again I'm going to use that squiggly line, that means about, this is about 0. Now that doesn't mean it's actually nothing, but it means when I'm estimating, I can pretend it's nothing. I can pretend it's 0. Let's try 2 more examples. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to write 4/6. I want you to pause the video and I want you to write over here, what would 6 look like if I had 0, 6? What would 6 look like if I had a whole? And what would half of the sixths be? Pause the video and come back when you've done that. Okay, so if I'm looking at sixths, I know that 0 would be like 0 sixths. That's the same thing as 0. I know that 1 whole would be the same thing as having 6 sixths. And then half would be in the middle. So 1/2 of 6 is 3. So I've got 3 sixths. And that's equal to 1/2. To figure out what I should estimate this as, what benchmark I should use, I just have to look at the 4 sixths and see is that closer to 0 sixths, to 3 sixths, or to 6 sixths. I think it's closest to 3 sixths. So I'm going to use my benchmark of 1/2. I'm going to say this is about, and again, I'm going to use that squiggly melted equal to sign. That means about 1/2. How'd you do? Did you get it right? Let's try one more example and let's see what you do. 7/8. Go ahead and pause the video and see what you should benchmark it as. Is this 0, 1/2, or 1? Is this about 0, about 1/2, or about 1? Pause the video and figure it out. Okay, so in order to figure this one out, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to write in what my fractions would be. 0 is 0/8. 1 whole would be 8/8. And 1/2 would be halfway between 0 and 8, because it's got to be halfway between 0 and 1. Well, what is 1/2 of 8? 1/2 of 8 is 4/8. So 4/8 is close to 1/2. Then to figure out which benchmark I should use, I look at 7/8 and I say, is that closer to 0/8, to 4/8, or to 8/8? I think it's closest to 8/8, so I'm going to use 8/8 as my benchmark, and I'm going to say this is about 1 whole. All right, I hope that helped, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye.